I think Reuben said he wanted a statement to be read.
Now we're live.
Okay, so this is the Parshah Torah reading, Deuteronomy 33, the first portion, chapter 33, 1, starting at 1 to 7. Verse 1, and this is the blessing with which Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel just before his death. He said, "The Lord came from Sinai and shone forth from Seir to them. He appeared from Mount Paran and came with some of the holy myriads. From his right hand was a fiery law for them. Indeed, you showed love for peoples. All his holy ones are in your hand, for they let themselves be centered at your feet, bearing your utterances." The Torah that Moses commanded us is a legacy for the congregation of Jacob. And he was king in Jeshurun whenever the sum total of the people were gathered and the tribes of Israel were together. May Reuben live and not die, and may his people be counted in number. May this also be for Judah. And he, Moses, said, "O Lord, hearken to Judah's voice and bring him to his people. May his hands do battle for him, and may you be a help against his adversaries."
Is there any particular commentary for that?
Yeah, out of the Kamesh for 33, the blessing of Moses. The Midrash teaches that Moses continued the tradition which began with Jacob when he blessed the tribes before his death. These final words of Moses were a combination of blessings and prophecy, in which he blessed each tribe according to its national responsibilities and individual greatness. Ramban and Rabakia, hopefully I said that right, note Kabbalistic significance in the word. I don't know what this Hebrew word would be. It's I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I know the letters, but I'm not going to try to pronounce it. And this, which Moses' blessings are introduced and Jacob's final blessings are concluded. So this would be from Genesis 49:28. This repeated use of the word implies that Moses' blessings were a continuation of Jacob's, as if to say that the tribes were blessed at the beginning of their national existence, and again as they were about to begin life in Eretz Yisrael. Moses also used the word when he began his summatation, S-U-M-M-H-E-I-O-N, of the Torah before he died in 444, which symbolizes that Israel's way to achieve the blessings of its patriarch and teacher is by studying and observing Torah. As the last sidra in the Torah, this is the reading of Simachas Torah. I'm saying this wrong. When the annual Torah reading is completed and then begun anew from Genesis. As a part of the celebration of this event, every male present is called to Torah, even boys under bar mitzvah, and sidra is read repeatedly until everyone has had an aliyah, which would be a hey Reuben, is that a I don't know what that means. I always thought that when you journeyed to the land of Israel or make a pilgrimage to Israel, that was called aliyah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Anybody have any comments on that?
This is probably obvious, but from a little thing in my study Bible, it just this is really obvious, but he's addressing the tribes as a whole by seeming to address a single individual like Reuben. That's meant to be the whole tribe, not just some guy named Reuben, although it might be that also.
Yeah, I was going to try to find that word, find out what that was. It's going to bug me. It's found in 49:28. Let me see if I can find it in the text and find out what word that is.
Yeah, it says, so all the tribes are, yeah, it says, in a form a father's blessing of his progeny when death is imminent. And then it gives a bunch of other examples of the same type of thing, a bunch of them in Genesis, one in 1 Kings. And it says, Moses addressed to the tribes arrayed before him, treats all Israel as his own progeny, gathered before the deathbed. Following the model of other blessings, the speaker addresses the tribes in the singular, as if they were individual sons.
Oh, I'm moaning and groaning with this thing on, sorry. Alright, looks like the word pronounced Zoth. Yeah, that's what it has here. Alright, I guess I can move on with commentary if nobody has anything else.
Go for it.
So for one, verse 1, the man of God, this title which is applied to Moses, also in Joshua 14:6 and in Psalm 91, indicates that in uttering these blessings, Moses was inspired by God, and as such, his blessings certainly would be fulfilled. So in that one book that I was reading, and Doug, I believe that Abraham sent that to you too, right, Path? The Gospel According to the Jews. He talks about that statement where the law was given and it's on a I to you basis, which means there is no middleman. And what you read there kind of clicked with what I read in that book about the format on the giving of the Torah. And Jose Farrar, actually I might have it in here because, not to get on a long-winded thing, but this is relevant on how he explained the difference between the IU interaction and the other one. I'm probably not going to be able to find it now.
Apparently this is the first place in Deuteronomy 2 that Moses uses man of God or prophet. This is the blessing with which Moses, the man of God. Yeah, type of prophet. Also, same word in Joshua chapter 14, 1 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. Yeah, and the myriads of holy ones. Or in the Strongs, what did it say? Um, um, where it says, with him were myriads of holy ones, right after the Mount Paran line. What does yours say? The line right after where it says Mount Paran.
Let's see, okay. Yeah, and then approached with some of the holy myriads. From his right hand he presented the fiery Torah with them. To them. Yeah, that's interesting right there.
Well, that's apparently his divine counsel.
Or, yeah, the heavenly deities. Not deities, but heavenly hosts. Yeah. Well, I found this, what Jose Fior says about this. It says, the rabbinic principle, the Torah, expresses itself in a language of man, serves to define the linguistic reciprocity of God the speaker, addressee of the people. An important outcome of this principle is that the meaning of the sacred text is established through a dialogue and persuasion, as beautifully illustrated by the sages of the Talmud. It also serves to explain why Jews pay little attention to theological bullies, mostly victims of severe delusions of grandeur. The different media of transmission dividing Christianity and Judaism led to two conflicting biographies of the real Jesus and Christian knowledge of Jesus. So it just goes to show. He just went on to talk about how where the divine gives the whole and all the people heard it from the I to you, rather than from a third party. Whereas, the Bible says this, and without even questioning it, people would do it. But here, it's received from actually the divine giving it to all the people, which is different from just doing it because you heard somebody in authority say that you should be doing it.
That's from that book you're talking about?
Yeah.
And it mentions Reuben, who once had the leadership of the firstborn, and that's established in Genesis chapter 49, verses 3 and 4, is apparently threatened with extinction. Simeon, Jacob's secondborn, is entirely missing. Okay, yeah. So now he's going through. He's addressing all the tribes, basically.
The sequence of chapters testifies to Moses' greatness and overwhelming love for his people. He had just been told that he would die because he had failed to sanctify God's name in the presence of the nation in Deuteronomy 32:51 to 52, a sin that they provoked. Nevertheless, even though his death was at least indirectly caused by the Jews, his last act on earth was to bless them wholeheartedly. Homiletically, Moses blessed the people that their leaders should always be men of God, i.e. that they should not be only wise, strong, and principled, but that they should be saintly and kindly. Children of Israel. Whereas the blessing applied collectively to the entire nation, the children of Israel, Moses directed his blessings to each of the tribes individually, since the welfare of each tribe depended upon the others, and collective welfare of the nation depended upon the success of them all.
So that's all commentary on 1 through 7? Or 1 through 6, whatever?
Yeah. 1 through 7.
Is that all of it?
Verses 2 to 6 commentary. Moses introduces his blessings. Moses praised God and recalled the merit that makes Israel worthy of his blessing. As the passage notes, God revealed himself majestically to the people at Mount Sinai to give them Torah. Verse 2 states that God came to Israel from Seir and Paran, which, as the Midrash records, recalls that God had offered the Torah to the descendants of Esau, who dwelled on Seir, and to the Ishmaelites, who dwelled at Paran, both of whom refused to accept the Torah because it prohibited their predilections, predilections, to kill and steal. Then, accompanied by some of his myriads of holy angels, God came and offered his fiery Torah to the Israelites, who submitted themselves to his sovereignty and accepted his Torah without question or qualification. Thus, as with only nation worthy of receiving the Torah, and indeed the only nation that accepted it as an eternal heritage, Israel is supremely worthy of Moses' blessing. Let's see. Sforno, Sforno, adds that Moses made this point as a source of merit for Israel so that God would fulfill his blessings. In these introductory remarks, Moses incorporated three outstanding merits of Israel. A, God dwells among them. B, they accepted his Torah. And C, they acknowledged his sovereignty. This is from Ramban. Verse 2, Hashem came from Sinai to reveal himself to Israel, which had gathered to receive the Torah. See Exodus 19:20, Rashi. He caused his divine glory to dwell among them and never departed from them. So that was from Ramban's commentary. Having shown forth to them, the Israelites from Seir, the verb shown forth, the verb that describes sunrise, is used because Seir is to the east of Sinai, the direction of the rising sun. Comment on with some of his holy myriads. Unlike human beings who display all their wealth and prestige at such auspicious occasions, God came to give the Torah with an escort of only some of, but not all, his myriads of holy angels. This is Rashi. Thereby God taught a lesson in humility and moderation to people. It is not enough that one's possessions are honestly earned. One should not display everything one has. And with that, I think it's when Hezekiah in Isaiah was sick and he was made well, and 15 years were added on to his life, and the king of our Babylonian delegation wrote a letter to him and saying, oh, we're hoping and we're sorry to hear that you were sick and we're hoping you're better. He showed him all the gold and silver and everything he had in his kingdom, and some believe that that was one of the reasons why they came, because they believed he was rich. See, from his right hand, from the choicest celestial source, the Torah was communicated directly by God, and not by any of the myriads of angels accompanying him. That's from Ramban. Fiery Torah presented the Torah amid a display of fire and lightning. That's from Rashi. So verse 3, the tribes, the people, each tribe is a people unto itself. Genesis 35:11. All of whom combine to constitute the people of Israel. That's from Rashi. Its holy ones, the souls of the holy ones of Israel, which are stored with God in the bond of life. Alternatively, even in times of adversity. Holy Jews clave to God. That's Rashi. In a broader sense, the reference is to the righteous and pious ones over whom God bestows the special providence, protection, and guardianship, leading them on the proper path. For they planted themselves at your feet. This is still in verse 3. The Israelis are worthy of God's special attention because they planted themselves squarely at God's feet at the foot of Mount Sinai to receive Torah. That's from Rashi.
I forget how to pronounce your name. Moral, is that how you pronounce it? He has a comment. You want to go ahead and ask it for the room?
Can't
You
hear
sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. I
Yeah.
I had to interpret
Hello?
that.
Can you hear me?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Alright, cool. Just call me Mayor. Forget the Mori part. Mori.
Okay. What
Mayor.
would you would like to be called? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What?
Just Mayor. It's fine,
Mayor?
Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. That's easy for me.
I mean, I posted the comment on the side, so I learned that C9 means hatred. So I never really got into questioning and understanding why it's called Har Sinai if you receive the Shnei Luchot, the two tablets from on top of it.
Yeah, see, the comments won't appear on the outside, so if I started to answer you, people would think I was having a religious experience. They wouldn't have the other side to it, so it's good to say it on the video.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. And that was it. That was my question.
Isn't it also known as Horeb? What does that mean?
I don't even know what that means. I'm thinking about looking that up. I've been thinking about it for the past few weeks. It's annoying because there's several different names being chucked around, and I don't understand why. I think Seir means goat.
Well, Reuven is real good with language. Does he have particular insight on why?
To who?
I thought Reuven would have a good answer
Oh.
for you, but I guess not.
He posted in the comments here. According to rabbinic tradition, the name Sinai derives from Sinai, meaning hatred, in reference to the other nations hating the Jews out of jealousy due to the Jews being the ones to receive the word of God.
I don't believe that.
What about Horeb? Maybe Sinai was like a nickname. I don't know.
Well, mountains are always used for like kingdoms, even for evil kingdoms. So maybe the mountain in Mount Sinai is supposed to represent like the evil kingdom of the earth, and then the Torah coming down on it, which the evil kingdom is full of hatred, and the Torah is mercy. So it takes over the mountain and becomes the Mount Zion instead of, I don't know, man. That's my interpretation. And that's okay, because I'm free to do so as a free agent on the earth.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your opinion. Don't be afraid to speak up. We don't judge here. At least I don't.
Yeah.
Reuben says Horeb is thought to mean glowing or heat, which seems to be a reference to the sun, while Sinai may have derived from the name of Sin, the Sumerian deity of the moon, and thus Sinai and Horeb would be the mountains of the moon and sun, respectively. Oh, I thought they were the exact same mountain. Just two different names.
I think there is a bit of a debate. Isn't there a debate, Reuven, about which mountain is Mount Sinai? I think the Muslims have like a completely different version.
Excuse me. Sorry. Gotta quit drinking all the soda.
Thinking.
Is there anything else anyone wants to add, or should we move on? Any comments on the comments section, Reuven, of the video? And anyone who's watching, please leave comments for future videos and hangouts.
Well, I have another comment. It doesn't, it says, verse 2. It says in verse 2, it says, do you have in your books it says Torah or law? A fiery law or fiery Torah?
Torah in this book, in the Chumash.
Did you already read a commentary on the words that were used in that sentence? Ishdath? Because it doesn't say Torah or law, it says dath. Which is like knowledge, really.
See,
fiery knowledge.
yeah, it says here in the commentary on that word, it says fire and Torah, and Rashi says God presented the Torah amid the display of fire and lightning. But you're right. Like, I don't think that, tries to get at maybe what we're trying to get at.
I mean, I know like in Kabbalah and all that stuff, they interpret that as knowledge, which it makes sense. Even in the pictorial Hebrew, it's a tav or tau, and then a daleth. So it's like a picture of a mark, like a T, an X marks the spot, and then a daleth like a door. So it makes sense, you know. It's like the mark, the door of knowledge, fire. I don't know. It's pictorial, so it's like there's an expression being. It's like almost like Egyptian hieroglyphs in a sense. It's not the same, but
That's a good way of putting it. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Torah equals knowledge. You know, I don't know. What would we be without Torah?
yeah.
I guess we can move on to verse 8. O Levi.
Yay! Chapter 33, verse 8. In Levi of Deuteronomy. Verse 8. And of Levi he said, turn your Tunnum and your Urim belong to your pious man, whom you tested at Massa, and whom you tried at the waters of Meribah, who said of his father and mother, I do not see him, neither did he recognize his brothers, nor did he know his children, for they observed your word and kept your covenant. And they shall teach your ordinances to Jacob and your Torah to Israel, and they shall place incense before you and burnt offerings upon your altar. May the Lord bless his army and favorably accept the work of his hands and strike the loins of those who rise up against him and his enemies, so that they will not recover. And of Benjamin he said, the Lord's beloved one shall dwell secretly beside him. He protects him all day long, and he dwells between his shoulders. So here's the reading from 8 to 11. Levi, Moses' blessing of Levi begins with the Canaanim and then proceeds to the tribe as a whole. He first praised the steadfast loyalty and bravery of the Levites in the wilderness, and then went on to bless the Levites as the teachers of the nation to pray that they would overcome any challenges.
I never understood what the hell. I never understood these.
You're coming in a bit low.
I never understood these blessings and stuff. I don't understand the context. Why is it that he just didn't get them all in a group and say, okay, guys, may you be blessed in all that you do and such. But it's not like, I don't know. It's like a different, like the way that we think of blessing, I guess it's just different from how the Hebrew minds think. It's more like prophecy than just a blessing. Kind of weird. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I think too, like maybe by doing each one individually, it's not only like what they are getting from Moses, maybe in this blessing, like it's a blessing, but maybe it's also a charge for them to do something, or a ideal kind of form that they can work towards on what the blessing said. So this is your goal, rather. So even though like he could have got them all together, the goal nationally may not be the same goal as the individual. So it's kind of like a work and development plan. If you're working, right? So your team needs to get these kinds of results. However, each individual of the team contributes together by doing their own thing, kind of, so collectively they can become a national unity. So maybe that's what it is with these blessings. It's not necessarily saying, okay, you guys are all good guys, and to each one I'm saying this and that. It's more of a charge of like what to go do, maybe.
Yeah, these seem to be prescriptive. All these blessings, at least partly. Like Judah, in sore trouble because of an unnamed adversary, should be helped by other tribes. Levi, once a warlike tribe, is to receive the prerogatives of the priesthood, to teach law or Torah, and to officiate at the altar. Where do we leave off?
So I think that like maybe the transition is to, especially here, is before, as you're traveling to the promise, to the land. Now that you're there settling it, your role is different than what it was before.
Yeah, that would make sense. Which tribe do we leave off with? We covered Levi, right? Did we do Benjamin?
Benjamin was the last one I read.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and Thummim and Urim are the like divination devices.
Yeah, let's see the commentary on that, verse 8. In your Thummim and Urim, Moses addressed his words to God, Rashi, referring to the breastplate of the high priest, see Exodus 28:30, which God bestowed upon his devout one, a descendant of Levi. At Massa, the reference is to the incident in Exodus 17:1, where the people were rebellious and questioned God's ability to give them water in the wilderness. The Levites withstood that test and did not complain along with the others, Rashi. According to Seforno, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name right, Moses referred to all 10 times that the Jews tested God. Numbers 14:22.
Yeah, how are you?
See, commentary on verse 9. The one who set up his father and mother. The passage describes the selfless manner with which the tribe of Levi performed its religious duties. Without regard to family ties, they slew idolaters who worshipped the golden calf. See Exodus 32:27. Rashi observes that since the whole tribe of Levi was innocent in that episode, the fathers and brothers of the Levites could not have sinned, since they too were Levites. Thus, these terms must be understood as non-Levite relatives, such as the maternal grandfather, maternal half-brother, or the son of a daughter married to a non-Levite. For they observed your word. The Levites' only motive was loyalty to God, with no personal designs. And your covenant they preserved. In the broad sense, the Levites observed God's covenant by never indulging in adultery, either in Egypt or in the wilderness. More specifically, the covenant refers to the covenant of circumcision, where the vast majority of Jews did not circumcise their newborn in the wilderness because the hot, dry climate made it dangerous to do so. The Levites, however, had faith in God and always circumcised their babies. That was from Rashi. That's a text I would look up later. I didn't realize that the vast majority of Jews did not circumcise their newborn in the wilderness because of the hot, dry climate made it dangerous to do so. It doesn't give a text where that was stated.
I'm pretty sure it would give. It doesn't have like a Talmud page number next to that.
Nah, it just says Rashi, the Rashi commentary. See, verse 10. They shall teach your ordinances to Jacob. Because the Levites have proven their loyalty to God and did not show favoritism even to their closest relatives, they deserve to be teachers and judges of all Israel, not merely their own tribe. Bel HaTurim notes that this verse parallels Jacob's parallels Jacob's recommend that the tribe of Levi would be scattered throughout Jacob and Israel. Genesis 49:7. His rebuke was fulfilled by making the Levites teachers of the entire nation, which illustrates how people can ennoble even though unwholesome character traits. Jacob had been angered by Levi's uncompromising aggressiveness, but in the wilderness, the tribe used the strength of character to refrain from the sins and shortcomings of its brother tribes.
Doug, you awful quiet, and I usually have questions.
Oh, I'm just listening to the commentary. I have some questions coming up. A lot of these are pretty straightforward, though. I mean, he's basically just saying
Yeah.
his departing words to all these different tribes, essentially.
Um, 11. His resources. Since the Canahim and Levites were charged with the service of the nation, it's important that they have enough prosperity to be able to devote most of their time to their sacred work. Experience shows that the great spiritual figures are often more influential when they have the means to be financially independent. reminds me reminds me of a good way to scam people, though. I mean, you have to be responsible with it, but being independently wealthy so you can teach spirituality, I think it's been taken advantage of in today's day and age. See, and the work of his hands. May the Levites' service in the sanctuary be found acceptable to God, that they may not rise. May anyone who would oppose the priesthood, like Korah, be utterly defeated. Let's see, Benjamin. Since the temple was located in Benjamin's portion of Jerusalem, his blessing follows that of Levi, the tribe that performed the service. And since the tabernacle at Shiloh was in the portion of Joseph's offspring Ephraim for over 200 years, Joseph's blessing follows Benjamin's. From the day Jerusalem was chosen as the site of the temple, the divine presence rested there and hovers over him all day long, forever, for God will never rest his Shekinah anywhere else. That's from Rashi. Sifrei explains that Benjamin received his privilege for 3 reasons. A, he was the only tribal ancestor who was born in the Holy Land, and the others were born in Aram, where Jacob worked for Laban. B, he had no part in the sale of Joseph, and C, he comforted Jacob in his old age. Accordingly, Benjamin was the one whose remembrance, entirely free of the slightest breath of any opposing thought, corresponded to the virtues that the site of the temple was dedicated to foster. Let's see, and rest between his shoulders. The temple was built in the Judean hills as if on Benjamin's shoulders. The Talmud, Zervakim 54b and Yoma 31a, explains that the temple was built not on the very highest point of the land, but slightly lower, just as the shoulder is lower than the head. It's Rashi. All right, any more comments on that portion? All right, going to the third portion, chapter 33 of Deuteronomy, verse 13. And of Joseph he said, his land shall be blessed by the Lord with the sweetness of the heavens, with the dew, and with the deep that lies below, and with the sweetness of the produce of the sun, with the sweetness of the moon's yield, and with the crops of the early mountains, and with the sweetness of the perennial hills, and with the sweetness of the land and its fullness, and throughout the contentment of the one who dwells in the thorn bush. May it come upon Joseph's head and upon the crown of the one separated from his brothers. To his firstborn oxen is given glory. His horns are the horns of Arim. With them he will gore peoples together throughout all the ends of the earth. These are the myriads of Ephraim, and these are the thousands of Manasseh. I think that section's a little more poetic.
Yeah, I had a question on this section, which maybe it's explained elsewhere and I don't remember it, but why seems like Joseph is being given the rights of the firstborn of Moses, but is there some particular reason for that?
To his firstborn ox is given glory. Well, let's see. Joseph, the blessing incorporates those of Ephraim and Manasseh in many ways, parallels Jacob's blessing of the tribe. Joseph infers that since Moses felt he needed to bestow such a blessing on Joseph's territory, it would seem that Joseph's portion needs special divine grace to avoid catastrophe. Indeed, Joseph's glorious roots contain dangerous elements, from which would sprout the evil kings of the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, who caused the destruction of the land. Let's see, that section would be a commentary on verse 16, thorn bush. The burning bush where God first revealed himself to Moses. That's Rashi. Rambam elaborates, may Moses' land be blessed by the grace of God, who revealed himself on Sinai, the place where Moses saw the bush. Verse 17, a sovereignty is his ox-like one, majesty is his. The translation follows Rashi, who notes that the term, which specifically means firstborn, can also refer to greatness or sovereignty. Exodus 4:22, and the metaphor of the ox alludes to power. Seeing Jacob's blessing of Simon and Levi in Genesis 49:6, where Joseph is likened to an ox. It is our context, the term refers to Joshua, the descendant of Joseph, who will be the sovereign leader of the Israelites, and whose prowess would subdue many kings. It's Rashi. So to his firstborn ox. So that would be Joseph's. Yeah, I don't really understand that.
Well, it seems like they're saying that in fact Joseph's not being given like Gershom's birthright. He's just being given rule, essentially. there any other commentary on that section?
Yeah, verse 14, moon's yield. Produce that matures at night, such as a cucumber and melon. Alternatively, the phrase refers to the produce that the earth yields month by month. Let's see, verse 15, early mountains, the crops of Joseph's hilly areas ripened earlier than those of the lowlands. Alternatively, this would be rendered ancient mountains, because these were the first mountains that God created. That's from Rashi. Let's see, verse 17. They are Mards. The nations that would be gored are the Canaanites, Mards, slain by Joshua. The thousands are the Midianites, slain by Gideon, a descendant of Manasseh. Judges 8:10. That's from Rashi. According to Ramban, they refers to the two horns figuratively representing the two branches of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, both of which would grow and number in the thousands.
Oh my God. Hello?
Yes. What do you got for us?
Was that all the commentary for that section?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Should we go to the next one unless anyone has anything?
Well, what verse are we at again?
We're about to go read verse 18, I believe.
Zebulun?
Zebulun. Yep.
All right, fourth portion, chapter 33, Deuteronomy 18. And Zebulun said, Rejoice, Zebulun. And to Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in your departure, and Issachar in your tents. Issachar in your tents. How's that pronounced?
Issachar, I think.
Yeah, thanks. And they will call peoples to the mountain there, and they will offer up righteous sacrifices. For they will be nourished by the abundance of the seas, and by the treasures hidden in the sand. And of Gad he said, Blessed is he who grants expanse to Gad. He dwells like a lion, tearing the arm of his prey together with the head. He saw the first portion for himself, because there the portion of the lawgiver is hidden. And he came at the head of the people. He did what is righteous for the Lord, and what is lawful with Israel.
That's the whole fourth section?
Yes, there's
wow,
four
okay.
verses in that.
So, just a summary, Zebulun and Issachar will enjoy great influence owing to the resources of the Mediterranean and Lake Kinneret? Later known as the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah. Issachar and Zebulun had a unique and inspiring partnership. Zebulun engaged successfully in maritime commerce and supported Issachar, who devoted his time to Torah study as teacher, judge, and cultivator of spiritual treasure of the people. See 1 Chronicles 12:32. Although Issachar was older, Zebulun is mentioned first because it was he who made Issachar's Torah study possible. This is from Rashi. Genesis 49:13. The tradition of this partnership has been emulated by many over the years, with wealthy people supporting Torah scholars and even drawing up a formal contract providing that the merit of the Torah study would be shared by both. In your excursion, when you go out to engage in commerce, that's from Rashi. Safrei expounds that in the merit of Zebulun's support of Torah study, he will rejoice when he leaves this world. The Vilna Gaon maintained that the ultimate joy comes when one attains a higher level of understanding. Thus, when the supporters of Torah depart this world, they will rejoice, for they will not only be rewarded for their charity, but they will gain the privilege of knowing and understanding all the Torah learning that they made possible.
Welcome to the room, Wayne. We're up to, we just finished 33:18. So that's if you want to catch up. Can you hear me, Wayne? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
All right, cool. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Didn't realize my mic was actually already on.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead. What's up?
You sound like Charlie Brown's teacher again.
Yeah, Charlie Brown again.
I just came to Ruben invited me.
How do I mute the room?
How do you mute the room? Hangout 2-box. You're not leaving us, are you?
No, I gotta mute it really quick because I was doing something.
Yeah, click on the where is mine? Toolbox somewhere on the side there. Yeah. And then you click the little sound icon, and then there's an away mode button, and you switch it over to on. And then you won't hear any of us. Is that it, Wayman, for the commentary for that portion?
Yeah, in your tents.
Huh?
There's a couple more. Let's see here. In your tents, studying Torah, the descendants of Issachar, had a special understanding of the complex procedures for establishing Jewish calendar and the science of intercalation. INTRCALATION. When to add a 13-month during the leap years. Okay. Among them, there were 200 heads of Sanhedrins whose halakhic rulings were accepted by the entire nation. This is a midrash based on 1 Chronicles 12:32, Rashi. 19. Will assemble at the mount. As members of the Sanhedrin, which regulates the calendar and hence the festivals, the scholars of Issachar will determine when the tribes assemble at the Temple Mount for the pilgrimage festivals, where they will offer thanksgiving to God, bringing offerings of righteousness. Alternatively, people will come from afar to trade with Zebulun. The tribe's merchants will persuade them to go to Jerusalem to see how Jews serve God. The visitors will be so impressed by the pious behavior of Israel that many will convert and bring offerings to God. That's from Rashi. They will be nourished by the sea, which will yield them abundance of wealth. Concealed in the sand. such as valuable seashells and the dye from Chilzon, and the amphibious creature that was used to color glass wool, and the turquoise woolen thread used in the tzitzils. Tzitzis.
Tzitzit.
Yeah.
Those are the little tassels that they wear at the edges of their garment.
T 21 Gad 20 to 21. Territory.
Why don't you do 20 through 29? Do all the rest of the tribes in one big swoop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So I read the whole thing.
Yeah, to the end of the chapter, right? That would be the end of the chapter.
Yeah. Okay.
Wayne, we're Deuteronomy chapter 33, 20. 20.
And of Gad he said, "Blessed is he who grants the expanse of Gad and dwells like a lion tearing the arm, and his prey together with his head. He saw the first portion for himself, because there the portion of the lawgiver is hidden. And he came to the head of the people. He did what is righteous for the Lord, and what is lawful with Israel. And of Dan he said, Dan is a young lion streaming from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, Naphtali is favorably satisfied with full of Lord's blessings, possess the sea in the south. And of Asher he said, may Asher be blessed with the sons. He will be pleasing to his brothers and immerse his foot in oil. Your locks are iron and copper, and your days of your old age will be like the days of your youth. And Jeshurun, there is none like God. He who rides the heavens is your assistance, and with his majesty he rides the skies.
There's that iron and copper again, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen the two names here. He who rides the heavens, and and his majesty, he rides the skies.
Welcome in the room, Brandon. You have anything to add? Wayne? Anything to add?
No, I'm just here to lurk, so for now. I do have a question in Genesis, but I don't want to get you back there until you're ready to cycle back to there again.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing Genesis. We're just finishing up the Deuteronomy, and then we're done.
But you're almost done.
Yeah.
You start over again?
There's a half Torah. Yeah, we start over. There's a half Torah, right? Or is there not one for this week? Joshua 1. Okay. Should we finish up the chapter, or did we?
Yeah, I read the 29. Didn't I?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
Oh, no, I did. I'm sorry. 27, Deuteronomy chapter 33:27. Which are the abode for God who precedes all, and below are the mighty ones of the world. He expelled the enemy from before you and said, destroy. And Israel dwelt safely and alone as Jacob blessed them in the land of grain and wine, and also their heavens will drip dew. Fortunate are you, O Israel, who is like you, O people whose salvation is through the Lord, and shield who helps you. Your majestic sword, your enemies will lie to you, but you will tread upon their heights. That's the end of chapter 33.
So,
I have a little bit of a commentary in my, but that's for next chapter. It's pretty interesting. Next chapter looks really interesting, actually. Anyone has anything to add? Or
most of those are pretty straightforward.
yeah,
Gad occupied the best tableland in Transjordan, but aided the other tribes in the occupation of Canaan. Then there's a reference to Numbers 32. And then they just got some commentary on the locations. Naphtali is up between the Sea of Galilee and the Mediterranean. Asher is below Phoenicia and is to be strong and prosperous. And then 26 to 29. Oh, never mind. That's not relevant. I guess Jeshurun is all Israel. I guess that's what it's saying it means.
Yeah, I kind of like these words for God right here, where it's talking about he who rides the heavens, he who rides the skies.
Right, the clouds, the storm clouds.
Yeah, God who precedes all, and below are the mighty ones of the world. He expelled the enemy from before you and said, destroy. Fortunate are you, O Israel, who is like you, O people whose salvation is through the Lord, the shield who helps you.
Could you read your interpretation of 27 or translation?
what verse you looking for?
Verse 27 from Strong's.
Verse 27 from Strong's.
Welcome to the room, Gretchen. How was your day?
See, the ancient God is a refuge, a support are the arms everlasting. He drove out the enemy before you by his command. Destroy. What,
See, I have...
Oh, I got it right there. The ancient God, you want me to look up?
No, that's what I have. My 27 says, he subdues the ancient gods, shatters the forces of old. He drove out the enemy before you and said, destroy.
Yeah, this is the new JPS Tanakh. It says, the ancient God is a refuge, a support are the arms everlasting. He drove out the enemy before you by his command, destroy. And let's see, the Kamesh says, from Art Scroll says, that is the abode of God in memorial, and below are the world's mighty ones. He drove the enemy away from before you he said destroy. Now, it might be interesting to look that up. Which I'm doing right now.
And 29 ends basically with that spot, tread on their back. So the standard symbol of military triumph. It's used in Joshua, Psalms. So basically a blessing of victory over Canaan. Victory in the conquest. You're looking up commentary on 29?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Commentary for 29, it says Moses took leave of his people with remarkable mixture of love and praise. Unlike his previous threats of frightening array of punishments, his last words contain blessings and reassurances. For ultimately Israel will fulfill its promise and be shown with divine rewards that will eclipse by far the horrors that it ever endured.
Yeah, for 27, translators note indicates that the Hebrew is difficult in the New Publication Society Bible for verse 27. Although plausible, it seems inconsistent with the emphasis on verse 26 upon God as a divine warrior. On that basis, the alternate reconstruction of the Hebrew by the New Revised Standard Version seems more appropriate. He subdues the ancient gods, shatters the forces of the old. He drove out the enemy before you and destroy. Now see, like, all
That's
right,
what
this is where
I'm using.
so this is interesting because a lot of times I have no understanding about why some of these Jewish translations. I mean, it could be based on teachings and learnings on how they translate words. You know what I mean? But it would almost seem like you would want it to be, God as a divine warrior, and to read as the New Revised Standard Version, he subdues the ancient gods and shatters the forces of the old, which totally makes them irrelevant, especially if you're coming in conquest with the land and you're doing these kind of like forced assimilation policies of the peoples there. Obviously, they have to conquer them, and they did, I mean, that's just fascinating, like why they would translate it and try to maybe say something else. I don't know, like, because all three of these translations that we read are very different from each other, So here for 26, it said, much like the Canaanite storm god, Baal, Israel's divine warrior is represented as riding upon the clouds. Isaiah 19:1, Psalms 18:10, and 68:33. So this is out of the New Jewish Publication Society Study Bible Notes. So this isn't from my Kamesh, all right? Just to make the distinction there.
I have Richard Elliott Friedman's translation in front of me if you'd like me to read it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Go ahead.
Starting at verse 26. There's none like the God of Jerusalem, riding skies to help you, and clouds in his majesty. The ancient God is a refuge, and below the arms of the eternal. And he drove out an enemy before you and said, Destroy. And Israel will dwell secure. Jacob dwells alone, to a land of grain and wine, and its skies drop dew. Happy are you, Israel. Who is like you? A people saved by the Lord, your strong shield. Who is your majestic sword? And your enemies will fawn to you, and you'll step on their high places.
So that's Friedman's commentary on the Torah, right?
That's from the Bible with Sources Revealed.
Oh,
That's
okay.
his translation.
Yeah,
I did change one thing. He uses the divine name in the text, and I put the
right.
Lord instead, just as a substitution. But
Well, I have Friedman's commentary on the Torah. I just want to see how he would translate that verse 27 out of Deuteronomy. I had it here on my shelf. I forgot I had it. I'm a moron.
the ancient God is a refuge, and below the arms of the eternal. And he drove out an enemy before you and said, Destroy.
Yeah, see, I have for 27, ancient gods could be the eternal God as a dwelling place. Then shatters, the Hebrew meaning from underneath. And then ancient gods, an alternate is the everlasting arms. So yeah, I mean, they seem so totally different.
Yeah, on Friedman's commentary on the Torah, he doesn't mention anything about that. Like his it might be the same as what Wayne just read here. This is out of the ancient God is a refuge,
Yeah.
and below the arms of the eternal. And he drove out the enemy before you and said, Destroy. Yeah.
That's out of stones, right?
No, that's out of commentary on the Torah by Friedman.
The difference there seems to be out of an enemy and out of the enemy.
Yeah.
Or out the enemy. There's a slight difference there, but
Well, we were talking about gods or God of old too, because some translations have he subdued the ancient gods, but here it says the ancient God. So I guess what they're doing is using is it Elohim? Yeah, it is. They're probably using the Elohim in the plural here as gods. You know what I mean? Probably the new RSV is using it that way.
Yeah, dude, I know what you mean. No idea.
Well, should we do chapter 34, or was there more commentary on 33?
I think we're done with 33.
Well, should we read 34 in one big shot? It's really
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Seventh portion of Deuteronomy chapter 34, 1. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of the summit facing Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land, Gilead until Dan, and all the land of Nephtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and the land of Judah until the western sea, and south of the plain, the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees until Zoar. And the Lord said to him, This is the land I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, saying, I will give it to your offspring. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you will not cross over there. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab by the mouth of the Lord. And he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. And no person knows the place of his burial unto this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye had not dimmed, nor had he lost his natural freshness. And the sons of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab for 30 days, and the days of the weeping over the mount mourning for Moses came to an end. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, because Moses had laid his hands upon him, and the children of Israel obeyed him, and they did as the Lord commanded Moses. And there was no other prophet who arose in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, as manifested by all the signs and wonders which the Lord had sent him to perform in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and all of his servants, and to all his land, and all the strong hand and all the great awe which Moses performed before the eyes of Israel.
Makes you wonder where it says, never since has there arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Makes you wonder what the heck the Gospel of John's talking about when Jesus says, no one has ever seen God.
Yeah.
Huh? Did you forget about somebody? Namely Moses?
Right.
I'm of the opinion that the author of John was well aware of that and was intentionally saying that the God he's teaching is not the same God.
Makes you wonder, yeah.
The Marcionite view.
That seems to be one. Well, anyway, that's a separate hangout. But anyway, let me see what I got here too, and then you guys can read the strong stuff too, or whatever you have.
I'm just curious where it says, died there the land of Moab by Yahweh's mouth. I didn't mean to use the divine name. I'm reading the text that has it. I'm sorry.
I think it means that he killed him, because not only did he die by the Lord's command, but he died at exactly 120, which is the prescribed age of humans. And then it goes on to say that, you know, his eye hadn't faded, his sight hasn't faded, and he had his vigor, full vigor, so it said that he was healthy.
Wow, I didn't even look at it that way. I was thinking it was referring to a place that had that name. It just seemed like a weird name for a place. You're saying by Yahweh's command, God's command, that seems odd to me.
Like I always thought that since Israel wasn't supposed to set up any idols or bow to any deities, or like this totally takes care of the whole idea of, you know, worshiping Moses' graveside and the whole thing. If nobody knows where he's at, and the divine himself took the time to take him and bury him and do the whole, you know, kind of thing, it's almost like here he dies. It's different from Elijah that's taken up in bodily form, you know, and because Moses was buried. So it wasn't like Enoch and Elijah where both of them were not because God took them, you know.
So you're saying that if they had known where he was buried, that it would have been like a holy shrine or something, and it could have been
maybe that's
idolatrous.
Maybe they were trying to avoid that whole thing, you know.
Does anybody here actually read the Hebrew?
No, I can't.
No.
Okay, I was just curious whether the word for by there, that actually meant in Hebrew, whether it can be interpreted as via the means of, as you were saying, or as I was reading it, you know, next to, geographically, whether the preposition there would actually distinguish the difference.
Let's see here. See, for on the death of Moses from the Jewish Publication Society Bible, this chapter highlights the absence of access to Moses, who leaves behind no progeny and whose burial site is unknown. The Torah alone is the enduring Mosaic bequest. After the insertion of the Song of Moses in chapter 32 and the blessing of Moses in chapter 33, the chapter directly continues the narrative concerning the death of Moses and the transfer of leadership to Joshua, his successor, chapter 31. At another level, however, the chapter also directly continues the narrative thread of Numbers chapter 27, where God commanded Moses to ascend these heights, to survey the promised land before his death, and to lay your hand upon Joshua to transfer the mantle of authority to him. The belated resumption of that narrative, with its two themes of the Mosaic death and succession, forms a literary bracket around the book of Deuteronomy, suggesting that editors interrupted the narrative in order to work Deuteronomy into the Torah. I've heard of that. That's kind of like, textual criticism there, but it's fascinating that that's also found in Numbers too, and that there's two of them, Let's see if there's anything on the death here. If they say anything about that. Number 6, he buried him. The clear indication, this is out of the JPS Study Bible. He buried him. The clear indication is that God himself buried Moses as he himself sealed Noah into the ark. Instead of Moses' progeny assuming the important legal responsibility of caring for the dead, God undertook it personally. This divine care fits the image of Moses in Deuteronomy.
Can I interject something?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
I decided to check out the Septuagint just to see what it says in that passage.
Right.
And it supports what Doug was saying. The Septuagint says, dia rematos kuriou, by the word of the Lord.
Nice.
It's interesting you're reading, you were saying out of the JPS study.
Yeah.
It's like exactly word for word my commentary in the New Oxford annotated Bible. I wonder if one's using the other.
Could be.
Like word for word, other than the translational quotes.
How you doing, Prescott? How are you, man?
All right. Let's see, this is out of the Kamash Art Scroll commentary. Having blessed the people and prayed for Moses, the faithful servant ascended the mountain as he had been commanded. As he stood there, God showed him every part of the land and the entire panorama of Jewish history that occurred at the places in the named passage. The entire land. It was more than a mere physical glance. God prophetically showed Moses the entire land of Israel in its prosperity and under the oppression of future conquerors. That's Rashi. See, verse 5, so Moses died there. Moses died at this point the sages raised the question of who this and the following verses. There are two opinions. Moses wrote the Torah up to this point, and Joshua wrote the remaining verses, or the Holy One, blessed be He, dictated these words to Moses, and he wrote them with tears rather than ink. Servant of Hashem, even as he died, Moses was still of creation. He was buried opposite of Beth Peor to atone for the incident of mass immobility that took place there. Numbers chapter 25. Moses' grave was one of the 10 things created during twilight on the eve of the first Sabbath of creation. That's from Avos 5:6. And no one knows. Even Moses himself did not know it before, and after his death it remained concealed, so that his tomb might not become a shrine of pilgrimage for those who deify national heroes. It has been noted that this is the seal of Moses' humble self-effacement. Verse 7, and his vigor had not diminished. Despite old age, Moses remained fresh physically. Rashi renders, even after his death, his life fluids remained in him. His body did not decompose. See, verse 10, the quality of Moses' prophecy, face to face. Moses was familiar with God and was able to speak with him whenever he wished. According to Rambam, and here into Numbers 24, 1 and 2, the verse speaks not of Moses' familiarity with God, but of the degree of closeness that God permitted him to have. For his prophetic visions were as clear as if two friends were conversing face to face, understanding one another, not only through words, but through facial expressions. The sages note that the Torah's statement here, that in Israel there would never be a prophet like Moses, implies that among the non-Jewish nations there could be such... let me start over, I'm sorry. Jump the line. The sages know the Torah's statement here that in Israel there would never be a prophet like Moses implies that among the non-Jewish nation there could be such a prophet. The sages explain that this prophet was Balaam, which seems to imply that in some ways his prophecy was even greater than Moses. See also Numbers chapter 24, Rambam. Rambam explains that by no means does this mean that Balaam was comparable to Moses, for no prophet ever approached the stature of Moses. Rather, Rambam could achieve his communication with God only by strenuous preparation and only regarding the topic he had chosen. Moses, however, could be summoned by God at any time for any message. Accordingly, Balaam's prior awareness of the nature of his expected prophecy was an indication of his inferiority to Moses. Thus, Moses was unique in that he achieved the highest spiritual level possible, that there will never again arise a prophet like Moses is Maimonides' seventh principle of faith.
That's some good stuff, Wayman. I appreciate you reading for us tonight, man. Thank you. I do appreciate it. Thanks for keeping the hangout going.
Sure.
So, half Torah?
I'm not sure where I'd find that. If Ruben wants to post that.
I think you said it's Joshua 1.
Joshua 1, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Should just be right next page.
See, I'm reading off the website here. Yeah, I'm reading off the Chabad website for the portions.
Haftorah is supplementary stuff from the books outside of the historical books, the books outside of the Torah.
It complements the Parshah that we read. Doug, why don't you read it? I'm sure Wayman's probably.
I'm totally lost in this website here. I can't find out where to go to actually the.
Oh,
the
Reuben
Hebrew
put the link. It's the last link up.
The last link up. Okay, where it says complete reading. Where it says complete reading.
Reuven just posted the link
The
again.
most recent link in the chat. He
Oh,
just
thanks,
posted it again.
Okay, we got it.
No problem.
Don't tell anybody I couldn't find Joshua 1, all right? That'd be embarrassing.
Well, I hate to break it to you, it's live.
You know it's the book right after Deuteronomy, right?
Yeah, I was going around this website. I'm like, how do I get there? And I couldn't find the next how to get to the next section here for some reason. I feel like an old guy now. Joshua chapter 1, verse 1. It was after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, that the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, had died. Now arise and cross this Jordan, and you, all this nation, to the land which I give to the children of Israel. Every place on which the soles of your feet will tread I have given you, as I have spoken to Moses. From this desert and Lebanon to the great river, the Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and to the great sea westward shall be your boundary. No man shall stand before you all the days of your life, as I with Moses. So shall I be with you. I will not weaken my grasp on you, nor will I abandon you. Be strong and have courage, for you will cause this nation to inherit the land that I have sworn to their ancestors to give to them. Just be strong and very courageous to observe and do in accordance with all of the Torah that Moses my servant has commanded you. Do not stray from them therefrom. Do not stray therefrom right or left, in order that you succeed wherever you go. This book of the Torah shall not leave your mouth. You shall meditate therein day and night, in order that you observe to do all that is written in it. For then you will succeed in all your ways, and then you will prosper. Did I not command you, be strong and have courage? Do not fear and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And Joshua commanded the officers of the nation, saying, Go through the midst of the camp and command the nation, saying, Prepare provisions for yourselves, for in 3 days you will cross this Jordan to come and inherit the land the Lord your God is giving you to inherit. And the Reubenites and the Gadites and half tribe of Manasseh and Joshua said, saying, Remember the word that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, The Lord your God is giving you rest and has given you this land. Your wives and your children and your cattle shall all settle in the land that Moses gave you on this side of the Jordan. And you, all the warriors, shall cross over armed before your brothers, and you shall help them, until the Lord gives your brothers rest as he has given you. They too shall inherit the land that the Lord your God gives them. You will then return to the land of your inheritance, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you on this side of the Jordan towards the rising of the sun, you will inherit it. And they answered Joshua, saying, all that you have commanded us we shall do, and wherever you send us, we shall go. Just as we obeyed Moses in everything, so shall we obey you. Only that the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. And every man that shall rebel against your words and will not listen to your commands in all that you order him shall be put to death. Only be strong and have courage.
It says Joshua's speech, this is referring to verses 12 to 15. Joshua's speech to the Transjordanian tribes is suffused with vocabulary that typifies Deuteronomy, since the other tribes that helped Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh conquer their land, they were to help the other Israelites acquire their land west of the Jordan. The half-tribe of Manasseh, according to territorialists, part of Manasseh occupied land east of the Jordan and part west.
Yeah, I think those were the tribes that stayed back and wanted to claim land and didn't cross over. But if they were to claim it, they were told that they had to help the others fight
Right.
for the land. Yeah, on the other side.
Okay, yeah.
I'm at 4 hours sleep. I'm gonna go to bed now.
Cool. So Joshua is the new Moses. Like in 5. No one shall be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I shall be with you. Cool. So we're done. So next week, Genesis 1, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for reading, Wayman.
Sure.
Oh, thanks, Ruben. The full promised land of Israel on Ruben's avatar. Good question, J-Dubs. Guess that's up to Ruben? I don't know. Now, Ruben, are these borders based off of that Genesis passage or what we just read from Joshua, or are they the same? Because in Joshua it mentions some of the Hittite lands too, in Syria, which I see is... Yeah, because weren't they already pretty much done with by that time? Cool. Boy, I can't imagine if Israel was that big today.
Yeah, sorry I didn't contribute very much to commentary, but just reading and all, I know that like it was kind of dead, but this is the first time we're trying it, and a lot of our main people aren't here
Yeah.
who help us explain things and usually add commentary and make it more interesting using, Hebrew law code and Hebrew words and explanation of history and all that. So.
Well, I'm glad I showed up for this one. I missed all the previous ones, but it was good seeing what the group's about. And if we go through starting next week doing the whole tour again, I'd like to be there.
Yeah. If it happens. Our normal host, I guess, like, didn't want to do Google Hangouts anymore, so it kind of bowed out. And Ruben was trying to put this together for today. So I don't know what Ruben's plans are for this Hangout in the future.
Anybody here familiar with the Jewish calendar? Explicitly the most ancient version we might know of it?
Ruben says yes in the chat here.
How many days are between the 17th day of the second month and the 17th day of the seventh month?
Yeah, James Idol Smasher pretty much left a post on his wall on Google Plus, basically saying, he just doesn't like the people on the Hangouts. So I hear him. I kind of feel the same way, I guess. So.
In this Hangout or in
No,
general?
I think he means G Plus in general.
Oh, okay.
And Reuben, to actually get to my point, the dates that I gave are from the flood story in Genesis. And Genesis itself specifies there are 150 days. But it seems that using a calendar that recognizes there being 364 or 365 days in the year would have to have 152 days there, not 150. So there's like 2 days missing. I'm just curious if it has to do with how they calculated things back then versus now.
Should we go to the after party, quote unquote? $147.
So that's a discrepancy in the opposite direction. But the 150 that I was saying is from Genesis 8:3.
Just to clarify, it says on Idol Smash's page, posted October 6th. So that just about wraps it up for my Google Plus Hangout days. No big loss. I plan on continuing the Noachide Nexus every Thursday, God willing. After this week, we will begin an hour earlier at 7 p.m. CDT.
Check the post that he made literally 3 hours ago.
I can't even find his thing, his friend list thing.
He might have. Did he delete the Google Plus account?
No, I'm on his Google Plus account now. You want a link? Hey, you want a link to his page? Doesn't I don't. It doesn't appear to say that he's. I don't see a post from a couple hours. I see a video he put up.
I think we want to talk about it off air. Like maybe we shouldn't talk about it live in this episode.
Yeah.
Being this is Torah kind of study.
I just didn't want people out there to think that.
Oh, right, yeah.
Nexus if it wasn't the case.